Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to a tier list video. Now, I had to like restart recording just because it wouldn't like start properly. So, I'm gonna start by talking about the worst character in the game, which is Lil Mac, of course. Now, honestly, Lil Mac has a lot of flaws, and that's why he's the worst character. Now, I'll tell you what flaws he has. He can't edge guard you without dying, straight up. Like, he is the only character that can't edge guard at all in this game. Without dying, at least. Um, like, DK has almost got that exact same problem, but DK has a lot of things that make up for it. Uh, Lil Mac's kind of light in this game. And he just has, like, other things, like a terrible air game. In fact, the worst air game in the game. Which, if you have a bad air game in Ultimate, you're just gonna be on the lower side of the tier list, usually. And his ground game isn't like as good as Smash 4. Like, that's one thing. Is that Lil Mac is bad because he doesn't have anything that makes him strong in any fashion to make up for his lack of strengths. Like, you can platform camp Lil Mac and he cannot beat you. Like, unless you've seen that Zero video against the Ice Climbers player. But the Ice Climbers player was bad in comparison. Like, I won't say that the person was worse than me because, yes, Zero's Lil Mac is insane for some reason. But I can say this character is easily the worst in the game for many reasons. Now, the character I consider the second worst in the game is K. Rool. K. Rool, unlike Lil Mac, has a relatively good recovery. Yes, you can kind of gimp him, but it's like harder to do because he has a hitbox that goes for like 90% of the recovery. On top of it, he has like belly armor, which helps him armor through moves. Like, yes, Lil Mac has super armor on smash attacks, but K. Rool has more armor and invincibility than Lil Mac by far, and he can kill you earlier than Lil Mac even. Like, K. Rool is less cheesy than Lil Mac even, but not by much. I feel like this K. Rool just doesn't do well because he has a lack of good frame data. Unlike Lil Mac, who actually has relatively decent frame data, on top of it, K. Rool is a big body, which leads to you getting comboed. Really, a lot harder than other characters. So, K. Rool has a lot of things against him, and what does he have as strengths? Like, does a lot of damage per hit and can kill you kind of early, not as early as other characters in this game. And these two have no true, like, really, they don't have really any combos, is another thing. Like, K. Rool has a couple, and so does Lil Mac, but these characters do a lot of stray hits in comparison to other characters. But, like, Lil Mac has a kill confirmed, but it's, like, not consistent. He's not a consistent character, which is why he's worst in the game. K. Rool just relies too much on everything else because he's also very slow. Is another thing. Like, he's got a slow movement speed in the air and on the ground, leading to him being kind of easy to deal with for a lot of the high and top tiers, and then mid tiers mostly can deal with him pretty well. So he has a lot against him and very little going for him. Third worst is Ganondorf. You'll actually know from here. Like, I'm not even hiding it because I had to restart the recording because I had to restart setting up the tier list because I didn't want to show where every character is right away, like immediately as soon as you see it. But you'll know. So Ganondorf, bad recovery is one thing. uh, relatively easy to punish frame data wise. Like you can still, uh, like you can low profile as Nair is one thing. And Ganondorf kind of struggles against a lot of high end top tiers as well because he just has such a terrible recovery. It's not as bad as Ulmax, but you know, it's comparable, which is a problem. Ganondorf has like the ability to edge guard, luckily, because his recovery goes far enough, and Ganondorf does a lot of damage. But that's about it. Is he kills you early and does a lot of damage. Everything else, like that may sound good, but he's also like really easy to combo. It's kind of floaty. Like he's floatier than these two, and these two aren't really floaty, if I'm not mistaken. I know that K. Rool is like either average fall speed or I could be wrong. I forget K. Rool's fall speed offhand, but I know Little Mac's a fast faller, which is what makes his recovery even worse. Ganondorf has floatiness on his side, but has terrible ground speed, like the same case as K. Rool. And his airspeed is bad enough that you can just hit him and he dies. So, Ganondorf, really easy to just destroy off stage, and that's his biggest issue. Is if you get him off stage, he kind of dies. Incineroar is definitely a low tier. Like I will say that these unused are here because, well, I just don't want to use every icon because I don't want to repeat anything. So, but Pokemon Trainer will get a separate rating, and the individual Pokemon, that's one thing that kind of repeats but doesn't at the same time. And I'll explain in why each Pokemon is where, and then, on Pokemon Trainer and where I think they are. So, Incineroar really is brought so far down because of his poor recovery and his lack of speed. Like, those are his biggest two weaknesses. And those are practically all of his weaknesses, besides, like, being kind of large compared to some characters. But having those three weaknesses really is what kills him. Like, he has a decent air. Like, his air game's kinda meh, but you can get away with having his meh air game with the. Because it's only as bad as it is because of his poor speed. If Incineroar was fast, he'd actually be like higher top tier, I'd say. But Incineroar is slow, and that's what kills the character the most. Is the fact that Incineroar has the slowest ground speed in the game, which is something that Little Mac doesn't share with these three. Little Mac has actually got like the 10th fastest ground speed in the game. That's the one thing I think that goes for Little Mac that helps him. And I feel like if Incineroar was just slightly faster, he might be like low mid at best. But they're not going to buff his speed, and he's going to be stuck down here without being insane. Like, the only way that Incineroar is going to become good is if he becomes broken. That is the biggest problem, is this character is one of those ones that you can't fix unless you do something, but it isn't true to what the character in game is like. So I understand why he's going to stay slow on the movement speed. But his frame data is really good. He has really good kill options, and Revenge is actually the fastest counter in the game. And, like, to give you an idea, Revenge is frame 3, which is the same as Joker's counter. And those are the only two frame 3 counters. Every counter after that is like frame 4 or 5 or maybe even later. And there's not that many frame 4 counters in the first place. But like Incineroar has a combo breaker with Revenge and a few other things. Like you can just camp Incineroar is the biggest thing because he's slow. Like if you're slow, that's an issue. So basically, all of these characters have flaws that really make the character impossible to win a big tournament with. And the last character I'm putting in low tier is Kirby. Like, you could argue he's low mid, but like Kirby has terrible like things that cause like he has bad range. That is also Little Mac has bad range. I forgot to mention that. Like a lot of these characters have relatively good range, but Kirby and Little Mac both have no range. Like I have to take that into account. There are some good characters with low range, but there's not that many. Kirby, on the other hand, is light, has short range, like some of the shortest in the game for sure, and his airspeed is abysmal. Like he has a bad recovery because of his airspeed. Like every character here besides like K. Rool has a bad recovery, and even then K. Rool's still exploitable enough to matter. But like Kirby has like all of these characters have some sort of gimmick to them to actually make them able to win with. But the problem comes up when you run into a character like Kirby who, yes, has won a Japanese tournament, which is why I think you could argue him being a low tier. Not a low tier, a low mid tier. And that's just because there's a good Kirby player out there, but the problem is that Kirby has to be steps ahead of you to win. Like he has to read you. And Kirby does have some like interesting kill confirms. Like I think he has Nair up smash. Though I know he has like down tilt to trip. Like Kirby's definitely the best low tier in the game. For sure. Like Kirby has some things like that these other four characters don't. And that's why I'm not putting him here. Putting him below them. Like, that's one thing. Now, Kirby just has too many problems. Like, that's really his reason for being in low tier. Like, dash attack is actually probably Kirby's worst move. And dash attack is laggy, it's easy to miss, it doesn't really kill that well, and Kirby has like a few kill options. Like he doesn't really struggle to kill that much. It's just getting that damage because he kind of has he's like every character in the bottom tier has more strings than combos. Like Kirby has the best combo game of the low tiers, but his strings are really what bring him to be better. Like if you get a read on somebody and get a string, you can actually deal like 60 damage with Kirby. However, Incineroar can do like 60 damage as well with like if he gets revenge and hits you with one combo. That's one thing that Incineroar can do. Like he can down tilt nair you for like 50 damage if you do like an average damaging move, and that's one thing Incineroar does have. But like that's really kind of a gimmick in comparison to Kirby's strings, which are more consistent. Which is why I think Kirby is better. So, then we get into low mid, which is C tier. And I think the worst low mid is Dr. Mario. Now, Dr. Mario, like pretty much every low tier, has a terrible recovery. Definitely can still edge guard you. Though, the thing about Dr. Mario is he has one of the best up Bs out of shield. In fact, he has the second best one in the game. And He can kill you at 40 off of down throw. Like, Ganondorf can kill you consistently at like mid 30s to 40s. And, but Dr. Mario has like some nice kill confirms, like down tilt, up, recovery, down tilt, down B, I think works. Down throw, down B. Like, has to get like a few hits. Like, Dr. Mario has a lot of better things about him, but his recovery being so bad is what did it. Does make him kind of bad. On top of it, having a bad air speed and ground speed really hurts him. Like, he's the same way as Mario, but he doesn't have like weight issues like Kirby and Little Mac. And he has like relatively good frame data, which is what keeps him there. Like, he actually is definitely low mid. Like, if he got a little bit of either movement speed or if he got some like buffs with a few new combos, that would actually bring him up to like more of a mid or like low high tier, I'd say. Which, where I'd say is you want to be where the mid tiers are or low high tiers are to be like balanced, I feel. And Dr. Mario is pretty fair besides down throw down B killing you super early. Like, that's pretty much all he has that is dumb. But, you know, I think it was 40. It might be 60, but you know, still early. Like, Ganondorf definitely kills you at 40. That's one thing. And having good kill power, like, it's really just those weaknesses and having a little bit better strengths than these guys is what keeps him out of the low tier. But he's a low mid, for sure. Now, I'm putting Mii Brawler here because he got, like, nerfed last time I saw. Like, I think in patch, like, 7, no, 6.0, I think he got nerfed or something. But, basically, Mii Brawler has some good stuff, but he's one of those characters that kind of sucks. Like, he has a mediocre recovery, doesn't have a proper fall speed or anything. He really just doesn't have anything that makes him good. It's not like the case of Pit where he's so fair that he's not good, but it's the fact that Mii Brawler doesn't have much going for him in general. Like, in Smash 4, I'd say, like, Mii Brawler was low-key the better Mario, but, you know, like, Mii Brawler in Ultimate, you just can't tell what he would be doing because he doesn't have anything, like, super good. Like, I know he can kill you at, like, 0, but that also takes, like, you messing up to die at 0 from him. Like, every other character below him can't kill you at 0, but on top of it, that's a gimmick to kill somebody at 0 with the character. Frame data, though I can tell you his frame data is bad as well. Like, Mii Brawler, he could use some buffs. Like, a little bit of frame data would help, I'd say, and then he'd be good. But definitely not a great character. Now we're moving on to everyone's least favorite swordsman. Well, not true. Pretty much everyone's least favorite swordsman, Corrin. Now, Corrin's the worst sword character in the game, and she's just she just struggles. Like, a lot of her stuff from Smash 4 doesn't work. Like, if she was like Smash 4 in Ultimate, Smash 4 Corrin in Ultimate, she'd still be worse than Smash 4 because of the change in knockback. But I feel like Smash 4 Corrin changes, like changing Smash 4 Corrin, like literally if you left Corrin alone, she'd be a mid tier, if not like mid high tier. Like that's really what it is she got nerfed from Smash 4 out from being top 10 in the game to like bottom 10 in my opinion. And it's because she can't like she doesn't have any real combos. She doesn't do fantastic damage. She has average frame data and her recovery got buffed. Like she is better than what she was at the beginning. Like she's still bottom 10 with those buffs. Like she did need a recovery buff, which she got. And yeah, I feel like this character needs a bit more like frame data or being a bit safer on shield or a bit better combo game. Like pretty much every character here doesn't have a lot of good safety on shield. Like I know Little Mac has a few safe options, but they're all grounded. And Corrin has a couple of safe options, but like every character in low mid and low tier kind of blow. Like you really can't do well with these characters without like these get like some of these characters get invalidated by some of the top tiers. Like Corrin gets invalidated by some of the high tiers in some cases, I feel. And it's because she has like she does have range. That is one good thing. She is a she's the same weight as Dr. Mario and Mario. That's another thing. Is Corrin has a few good things going for her, but she lacks too much to be like good. I know I haven't stated everything. Like they did nerf Pin, but then they buffed it, and Pin's it's good. It's just not Smash 4 good. But we don't want Smash 4 Corrin, so I can understand. And now we're going into Robin. Actually, no. I'll talk about Robin in a little bit, but there's a couple of characters I just thought about. King Dedede. I I really don't know why this character just in Brawl this character Dedede was good, but ever since anything past Brawl has happened, Dedede has sucked, and there's a few reasons for that. Gordo just is so easy to knock back. Like Fox lasers can knock it back if I'm not mistaken. Like you hit it with two Fox lasers, I think it goes back. Actually, no, not in Ultimate. I might be wrong, but who knows? But it's like it's easy to knock back Gordo, and then on top of it, it doesn't help that this character has bad frame data, is slow in the air. Like I think he has the slowest airspeed in the game. I think he does. I could be wrong, but it's like bottom five in the game for sure. Like that's his biggest issue is he's big body, slow in the air, slow on the ground, kind of bad frame data. He just can. He has like some nice options. Like Gordo definitely isn't a bad move. It's just that it's super easy to knock back and needs. And then on top of it, they nerfed Gordo. Like I feel like that's a problem. They should honestly buff Gordo and make not like in hitbox size because that's what they did nerf. I feel like they should just make it harder to knock back, and then on top of it, give him like some slight buffs to his air game and ground game. Like he needs it. This character needs help, like every other character in the bottom 10. And I feel like the bottom 10 in this game really are like they can win. It's just it's impossible to win a major with these characters. Like low mid I feel like is where you can't win. Like mid tiers it's a really small chance that you'll win. And I know I hovered over Lucario for a second, but yes, he's going to be talked about really soon. He is actually kind of does have problems. Um, Just thinking. Because there's a few low mids that I could talk about right now. Um, could go Meta Knight, Lucar. There's like three characters I would want to talk about right now, and honestly, no. I don't know why I grabbed Simon like I meant to grab somebody else. It was on that row. I don't know why I was so. I don't know why I did that solo, but Meta Knight. Also, forgot to mention DDD has good disjoints. That's another thing. Hammers are really useful in swords on Corrin. Does help, but Meta Knight. Despite being a swordsman, he has terrible range. I'm gonna say this right now. There are a few things that are better about Meta Knight, like Meta Knight definitely can just ladder you and kill you if he gets a single up air, which is one thing. Like, but I feel like this character needs some buffs for sure. Like any character in low mid or low tier needs buffs. But I keep on repeating myself. I know. And Meta Knight having bad range as a swordsman, like we're not giving him brawl range because brawl range was stupid for a character with a sword like his. But like Meta Knight definitely lacks a lot. Like he's light, bad range, like I've said before. Uh, really no combo game. Like in Smash 4, he had like dash attack into up air, an up air ladder that killed, but that was really all he had, and he really doesn't have anything in Ultimate. Like he's just kind of there. Like he does have good frame data and all that, but it's like he can't really kill that well. Is the problem because of his like inability to like throw out get set up into a kill. Like he can't set up into a kill without reading you. Is the problem. And that's a sad thing about Meta Knight is he went from a S tier, I feel, in Brawl because like M2K explained it and all that, and I agree honestly, to a low mid tier that doesn't really have much in Ultimate. Now, Lucario. Lucario without Aura and Rage is probably just the worst character in the game. Straight up, if not Sopo. Like, Lucario without Aura and Rage does less damage than Little Mac's aerials, if I'm not mistaken, and that's sad. On top of it, you have to like be losing and then come back with this character, and that's the biggest issue. Is this character doesn't have anything going for him because, like, he got nerfed from Smash 4 because of the fact that Rage was stupid in Smash 4 with Aura, and that's one thing. They should have just nerfed Rage, and then this character would be like mid tier, like they did. Like they nerfed Rage at the beginning of Ultimate, and and I feel that Lucario just doesn't have anything because of that. Like you have to literally go from, like the only reason I'm putting him in low mid tier is because Aura and Rage, once you get it, help, but on top of it, they nerfed his weight in Ultimate. Like, he's like 7 units lighter than Smash 4, which is significant. And this leads to him not getting that much Rage or Aura in comparison to like Brawl and Smash 4. And I feel like they need to give him it back. Like, some of his weight would fix it a little bit, but this character just can't do much without losing for half the game. And I don't think losing half the game makes you good. In fact, I think it makes you bad if you have to lose most of the game to win it. Now, next we're going to talk about Robin. I forgot to talk about these two. So Robin, why he's so bad is really just you don't start off the game with Levin Sword is one thing. Uh, like in Smash 4, like that has to charge. Another thing is that you have to use your resources wisely, and like yeah, that's a part of the character I understand, and that really does hurt him. Like uh, Robin just doesn't have a lot going for him after he loses something. Like he has good aerials as long as he has Levin Sword, and he has good like smash attacks as long as he has Levin Sword. But he doesn't start off the game with Levin Sword is the biggest thing. And like without Levin Sword, I think every move of his, that's every aerial of his and every smash attack, is significantly less safe on shield. I think it's like minus 10 or 15 difference on some cases, which is insane. And then on top of it, like you can crouch under Thoron with some characters, uh, which is which is just a bad hitbox. Um, he really, once you get him to use up something, you can just kill him. Like without his Levin Sword and like other tomes, he actually has no ledge trapping game, which is one thing that he excels at, and he doesn't have a real combo game. Like he does have a few combos, like arc fire into Levin Sword fair, back air, and nair, which I'll kill, or arc fire into Levin Sword up air, and those all kill. But they require you to have arc fire and Levin Sword, and all of Robin's tilts just suck. Like straight up, he has no good tilts. So that's another thing. Is a lot of bad stuff without his actual stuff, and like if Robin Levin Sword was a little bit better, I feel like this character would be a little bit better, but not really. Like with his bronze sword, you just can't do anything. So, though it is nice to see that you now have a bar for durability shown. Now, Zelda. Zelda has like is probably one of those characters that is significantly better than Smash 4 and Brawl and Melee. Like I think this is the best iteration of Zelda we've gotten, despite her being another low tier. Like low mid tier, sorry. And Zelda can do stuff, she just lacks like a fantastic air game. Like if you get lightning kicked out, like if you attack her shield unsafely, she will lightning kick you and you will die at 60. But that's if you attack her unsafely. And on top of it, she has up B out of shield, which kills at like 100 if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty good. On top of it, her ledge trapping's good. Her frame data is not the best, and her tilts are pretty decent, but she has like outside of projectiles, she doesn't have really fantastic range, and she's kind of slow. Also, Robin's terrible on the ground. I forgot to mention this. Like, Lucario's kind of slow without aura as well, and does no damage. Like, Zelda, I feel like is the last like actual low tier. Like not low tier, low mid. And that's just because of how things work. Like, actually, no, Puff, but I'll talk about Puff in a moment. And Zelda definitely being relatively light. I know she's not as light as like Sheik, but you know, Zelda's actually just some of her moves are really slow, others are not. And then she has only like her game plan is very obvious. Like she's very predictable after a while, and that's the biggest problem. Now we get to talk about the last low mid, Jigglypuff. Now, this character also significantly buffed from like Brawl and Smash 4, but unlike Zelda, Jigglypuff was good in Melee and 64. And yeah, Puff had some bad things in 64, but Puff in Ultimate is like she has like kind of bad range, obviously, but like Rest kills way too late. Yes, they buffed Rest and made you wake up quicker, but they either need to make it significantly like make it a little safer on the end lag, or they need to give it more kill power, like Rest. But Jigglypuff, if she doesn't kill you at like 50 or 60, she won't kill you until like 120 to 150, which is a huge issue unless she gets a random rest. Like, that's the biggest thing. She does have a kill confirm, which is nice. Like, if you have Sing into rest or like other things, like she can up tilt you at 150 and you will die, but you have to die at like 150 to up tilt, which could kill later depending on the character. So this character does have problems killing if she doesn't kill you early. On top of it, she's the second lightest character in the game. And then on top of it, if you break her shield, she just dies. Unless she gets footstooled by a partner, which isn't likely. And on top of that, you have some invincibility when you get shield broken. So, that's another thing. So, Jigglypuff has a lot of things against her, and she can kill you super early. And yes, I feel like she's been on the rise slightly, but she needs more buffs before she can even be, like, considered a mid tier, I'd say. Like, anyone in, like, low mid could probably win a regional really easily in comparison. And yeah. So now we're going to get into the worst mid tier, and I'd say that's Richter. Now, this is another case of poor recovery, honestly. Like, having a bad recovery is kind of common, but it's also kind of uncommon at the same time. And the reason I put like Simon and Richter in mid tier right now is because they are probably like top. They probably can camp the best, but they also have probably one of the worst recoveries in the game. But they're still relatively consistent. Like, they do have a kill confirm being down air up B. If I'm not mistaken, that is one. And it's not the spiking down air. Like, that's one specific thing I will say. So it's like, I think late down air up B is the kill confirm. But then you've got like some really good ledge trapping. You've also got like down B F smash. And then a few other things. Like, you can angle back air and forward air is another thing that's good. Up air is good because they have good range. But what they lack is really what makes them worse. Like Richter and Simon and Richter. But Simon, I'll say, is better in more matchups, which is why he's slightly better. Like, Simon can hit bombs and make them explode, and a few other things, like Link's bombs will explode, and I feel like that matchup is important. And then on top of it, you can like detonate Toon Link and Young Link's bombs, which I think is a little more valuable than the red Pikmin matchup on Olimar. Even though Richter definitely has a better Olimar matchup. That is one thing that Richter has. Now, I'm going to put Ridley here. Ridley has like a few problems. He has gotten buffed. Otherwise, he'd be in low mid, if not low tier. And Ridley has like good range. The biggest problem is that he's the biggest character in the game, and he's surprisingly light for how big he is. But he's not like a lightweight like a lot of these some of these characters in low tier. But he's still kind of heavy, but he's just not as heavy as like Samus for some reason, which confuses me. He used to have a really bad recovery. It's still kind of exploitable, but it's not as bad as like Simon and Richter's or some of these low mid tiers and low tiers. Like I'd say it's better than K. Rool's because it actually covers him better. But he can still be killed by characters with good recoveries. And then on top of it, like Ridley has a really fantastic Nair. Like if he didn't have the Nair he has, he'd definitely also be a low mid tier. Like that's another thing. Like Ridley can do a lot of damage. He just has problems with getting like killed by combos because he just gets comboed really hard. And then he has a slightly exploitable recovery. A little bit below average frame data, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah. Now, I'm gonna say Pit's next. Now, why do I think Pit is worse than Dark Pit? Side B is just not as good because it doesn't it's just generally not as good because it kills I think a little bit later overall than Dark Pit's Side B, unless it's like mid stage, in which case I think it kills slightly earlier. And then on top of it, like Pit's arrows just kinda suck in comparison to Dark Pit's. Now Dark Pit will be right above Pit. I will say that. Like, these are probably the closest Echo Fighters will be to each other, by the way. Like, there are some Echo Fighters that'll be further apart. But, I just want to get some characters out of the way. And what Dark Pit and Pit struggle with is the fact that they're too average. Like, there's nothing special about these characters. Like, they are probably the most fair characters in the game. They were the most fair like Pit and Dark Pit were the most fair characters in Smash 4. And that is their biggest downfall, is they're too fair. Next, we're going to talk about Bowser Jr. Now, this character I used to think was like bottom 3 in the game. Now, he does have some stuff. Like, I will say, you can kind of exploit his recovery. He can be kind of predictable at times, and then on top of it, like, his projectile isn't good. But, like, he does have some good things. And that being that you can literally, if he up Bs, he can actually attack out of his up B with like forward and back air, which is really nice as a mix up. But on top of it, he can just juggle you with up airs, is another thing. Like, this is one thing that most of these characters don't have, is most of them can't really juggle you. Like, Meta Knight could, but pretty much everyone else couldn't here. Maybe Corrin, but Ridley has good edge guarding in comparison to Bowser Jr., but Bowser Jr. can do a lot of stuff. Like, I think he does better in more matchups is another thing. And Ridley in the air is slow. I forgot to mention, these 3 characters are slow in the air, by the way. But the rest of these characters, Ridley actually has like is tied for like 10th best ground speed in the game, if I'm not mistaken, though, which is another thing. But, Little Mac has, I think, third, but that's like insane and doesn't really help him. Like, alright, but back to Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr.'s speed, pretty average. He gets helped by like side B and up B on recovering, and it really comes down to predictability of Bowser Jr. being lacking, and that's really it. It's like he doesn't really have anything too terrible. He's actually heavy in this game. Like he's, I think, like 110 on the weight. I could be wrong by a little bit, but he's really heavy compared to like a lot of characters. He's like, that's one thing. He actually doesn't have the flaw of being like having a part of his hurt box do more damage than in Smash 4, which was one of his biggest weaknesses, is he had a weak spot. Oh yeah, I forgot to rate Piranha Plant. What am I thinking? Like, Piranha Plant's worse than Zelda, by the way. But Piranha Plant has Patui. That's the best thing about Piranha Plant. Uh, I think 7th heaviest character in the game. Not a super big body, but like bad air. Like Zerial's are terrible landing. Like he has tons of landing lag is the thing. Piranha Plant, that's one thing. Sorry about that, but I forgot Piranha Plant. It's a character that I actually know Piranha Plant can do stuff, but it's just really hard for Piranha Plant to do stuff. There are good Piranha Plants out there, but I feel like Europe and the US have the best results in Smash Ultimate. But we do have good Japanese players, I will say that. So, unlike Brawlhalla. That's one thing. Japanese players in Brawlhalla are not as good. Um, Also, frame data on Piranha Plant, kinda meh. And his recovery can be exploited by some characters, i.e., ends up lower. So, Bowser Jr., again, I'm coming back to him now. He does have things going for him, but he can't be high. I don't think he's higher than this point until he gets buffed. Duck Hunt. It's kind of hard to... There we go. So, Duck Hunt. I'd say you could order Bowser Jr. and Duck Hunt either way. Like, this is personal opinion. These are really relatively loose. Like, you could probably alternate some of these by quite a bit. Like, you could probably just put Sans instead of Mii Gunner. Because the Mii Gunner costume. I get the memes on why Sans is there. Is there a Cuphead one as well? I just wanted to see. Because I know that's a big one. But Duck Hunt. Frame 1 can. That's one thing. He does have a frame 1 move. His combo game consists of side B into side B into side B, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it stops after the first time on the 3. This character has some good disjoints, but mostly bad range. Bowser Jr. also has like some moves that have good range, and then some that are kind of meh range-wise. But Duck Hunt can kill you. He actually doesn't have too many problems. He's just not fantastic. He's just not. He's fine, I can say. Like, he's not really the worst. Now, where's another character that I can rate? God, I'm looking through this and I'm like, rating each character individually is kind of hard. I know I'm not explaining every character in a fantastic amount. Let's talk about Mii Gunner real quick. Basically, we're Samus. Actually, wait. That's Smash 4. No, wait, no. Mii Gunner's worse Samus in Smash 4. Samus is better in like Dark Samus is better. I think actually I'd say Mii Gunner's probably worse Samus even now. Like Samus actually has some stuff going for her still, but that doesn't mean that she's like very similar. Like she's definitely same tier. I'm gonna talk about her and Dark Samus later, but I'll tell you they're in this tier. But I'm gonna go with Mewtwo. It's basically Mii Gunner. It's more or less like I think Mii Gunner has the second safest move in the game on Shield. Might be the might be the third safest, but who knows. But Mii Gunner, really nothing. But Mewtwo. What really hurts him is his tail box hurt box. Because it's kinda big. Like Mewtwo is light and huge. That's a problem right there. Like you don't want to be a big body and then be like about as light as Sheik. I think he might be a bit heavier than Sheik right now, but at the beginning of this, I would have put him in low mid because he definitely needed buffs. But you know, Shadow Ball is alright. Confusion's alright. The teleport recovery's good, but you know, it's a teleport recovery. It's kind of hard to deal with. Mii Gunner also has like worse offstage, if I'm not mistaken. That's why I'm saying worse Samus. But like Mewtwo gets you'd think he'd have amazing range, but it's the fact that his hurt box makes his like disjoints not as good. Like I think the tip of his tail's the only thing that doesn't have a hurt box. And like they made the hurt box of the tail slightly slimmer, which is fair, I feel. Like before it was significantly wider than the tail for no reason. And now Mewtwo's a little bit better. Samus is going to be the next character. Basically, everything that applies to Samus will also apply to Dark Samus, but Dark Samus has overall better like things. I'll say one thing that Samus doesn't have as good. Up smash it hits lower on Dark Samus, so that's one thing that makes Samus worse. But Samus is actually pretty good. Like Charge Shot is your combo tool. It's actually better on Dark Samus because Charge Shot on Dark Samus has more hits done. So that's one thing. Like Charge Shot is Samus and Dark Samus's go-to move, and they're relatively solid at camping. They can approach with and combo you off of Charge Shot. They don't have bad kill options. Like, they're relatively heavy. The worst part about them is that their recovery isn't the best, but it's also like, well, their recovery is more exploitable, I should say. That's the biggest thing. Is it's exploitable, it does go far, is the thing. Like, if you get hit like really high, you can just stall for a bit and then come back to stage, or you can just recover high, and like you can throw out a forward air, and it might work. It might not, but you know, they also both have a tether, which I think, besides Simon and Richter, yeah, besides Simon and Richter, they are the only characters that have tethers as an option to recover that I've mentioned so far. Now, I feel like some of these will be like slightly off, and this is also based on experience. That's why I'm saying this. Putting characters where I put them. Where's Mii Swordsman? Mii Swordsman. Kind of meh frame data is really why I'd say it. Mid tier. Now, mid tier is going to be the biggest tier. And the lack of good frame data, but like there's a few things that make Mii Swordsman better. Like you could probably reorder a lot of this in a lot of low mid, and be fine. Like, you could definitely reorder bot a low tier as well. Like, the only character I'd say straight up is the worst is Lil Mac. And yeah, I think I've talked about a lot of characters, but Meat Swordsman, decent range. Uh, Meta frame data, a pretty decent recovery. And yeah, on top of it, you don't know what they're going to use. But I think Me Swordsman or Me Gunner could be rated as the best me in Ultimate. And yeah, so that's going to be the first half. I think I'll talk about the rest later because it's kind of hard to talk about all of these characters. But yeah, let's see if this stops the video or if I'll have to get out a little bit. But yeah, I hope you all enjoy seeing this. I'll talk about Brawlhalla after this and we'll get into a lot of other things. But yeah, I didn't talk about the best character in the game yet, but I think this is like the first third of the cast. Like, that's I know I'm saying that a lot, but you know, this there's so many characters to put in. Also, oh shoot, I forgot to mention Isabelle. There's a lot of characters. I'll put Isabelle in there. Isabelle is like low tier because low mid tier because she has like she's slow on the ground. She's gotten buffs as well, but she's still low mid. She lacks a lot of. She's like worse Villager. I should put it as like Villager is a mid tier, but Isabelle's like low mid because she lacks a lot of things like her fair and back air I think are a little bit worse, and then her down air and up air aren't as good, but they're more consistent. Nair is, in my personal opinion, I like Isabelle's Nair better. However, Isabelle does have the better dash attack of the two, but the specials on Villager are significantly better. On top of it, a very exploitable recovery. That is another thing, is Isabelle's recovery is significantly more exploitable than most of the cast. Like, if you hit two of her balloons, she just dies if she's not close to the ledge. So, you know, that kind of sucks. But Me Swordsman, pretty average, I'd say. Alright, I just did that by accident. Okay. Let's see if that ended it. If it didn't,